I love it out here. In the middle of Colorado. A lot of things that look like machine parts. I don't want to disturb too much. Just mind-blowing. I want to try to preserve this site as much as possible. Nobody's been here. I looked back here and I could see this rock outcropping. Let me show you an example of where this bird has decided to nest. And look at this thing sticking out right here. That was a piece of metal. Like a piece of rebar, square in shape. See that in the background. And it's a little windy again. And in fact, he is the one that prompted me to come back here. And then something told me that I was going to find something. I always stop here on my way home from Colorado. But I've never actually hiked back in this particular place. I have hiked over there, and there's some beautiful caves all along that white rock. And these are my favorite places. Nobody even knows or cares that this exists. And of course I'm looking for unnatural formations. They seem to be everywhere out here. Here, what looks like some block. There's Chi. And this is just super cool right here. What is this? What do you see? He's excited. He's really excited out here. Again, he kind of prompted me to come back here. I'm always a good scout. Let's have a little look at this. And of course we would be told this was caused by glaciation. Really cool. Kind of echoing. Look at the top. And something that's really interesting. These would make great photos, but this looks like this used to be a pipe. This is probably one of the coolest things I found out here. And this, I'm certain, is a rusted out pipe or some kind of piece of metal. You can really see the metal here. This is so cool. Let me just show you where this pipe would have connected, or whatever. Definitely a piece of metal there. Now resembling a piece of stone. Look at that. You know, some people might say it's a piece of wood. And I don't know. But this looking like the most pipe-like thing, especially just embedded into this other stone. And its shape, get a look from down here. And the way it runs right into that baby. Here, another little angle. One last little look. This was it. Not looking as column-like as it did from back there. And here we can also see what looks like a lot of metal and just different minerals fused in with each other. So here we are. And each outcropping continues to tempt me. Yeah, it's good going. The pipe, or whatever it is the coolest. And the little machine parts up there on the highest point where it looks like a bird had made a nest. And I'm drawn to go out there, but I think I'll save it for another time. I feel like I always film this and never show it. And sometimes we're just lazy. We just don't want to get out of the car, or we miss our turnoff, and we just keep going. And this is definitely a site worth exploring. Right up there. And right back there. Really a nice perspective from this backside. Just beautiful what I'm seeing in the background. As far back as the eye can see. I'm gonna have to zoom in when I get home. And this doesn't seem to be the road I'm looking for. I'm trying to get back here. And this road is now veering off, but I thought this was pretty cool. And this is the pyramid I think that we were looking at. Fascinating from this angle. I'm surprised I just saw 2 cars. There's usually never traffic back here. Or anyone. And some nice little antelope. And out there we have a castle. I've always wanted to go explore that one. And dead ahead We also have a castle. See right there. When I look out here and think all the secrets, all the mysteries lie out here somewhere where nobody cares to explore. And I've just been picking through this pile, and I thought I'd just hit record. And what we can just constantly see are these, you can clearly see the inside of the pipe. You can even hear that it doesn't even feel like stone, but it's just changed into something else. It's been heated and melted. And really one after another. Here's another piece. You can clearly see, of course it's totally deformed, but always one side rounded and the inside seeming like a pipe. All rounded parts. And so it must have been a really big pipe. And we're just seeing parts of it. Here, for example, see the little divots in there? Those little nubs? And you can clearly see the housing of the pipe as compared to what would have been the interior. Here again. And maybe these were smaller pieces because the contours seem smaller. This is a place I've always wanted to go. The first time I've pulled off the road. And what it looks like back there is a massive monument. Let's just zoom into that a little. Bunch of trees over there. Considering we're out in the desert, it must be by the river. And this is a beautiful spot. This seems like some kind of a wall. It's really fascinating to look at from Google Earth. This one wall plunging underneath and then rising back up out of the ground, also looking like a massive serpent. Not sure what to make of it. I always did note these giant, what look like blocks, and especially the ones that have fallen over. You can see very cut right angles. I see an oil field location to the right of it, which tells me we have access right up to it. Let's have a little look. And this is on the border of Colorado and Utah again. These are spots that I always want to pull over and go walk out there. One day I will. I feel like every time I drive down these roads, I'm just scouting it out, finding which spots I actually want to check out. These could be the remains of trees or buildings or some sort of strange creatures. Maybe a combination of all three, which I do believe is the case. And I wish I had the ability to test some of these rocks. And out here, whenever I see these holes like this, I think to myself, building. Melted buildings, their floors have collapsed. And this is a really fascinating area I've always wanted to share. This is near what's called the Gilsonite mine. Gilsonite is a mineral. Only a few places where it's mined throughout our realm. And here I just pulled over on some little side dirt road. And I'm glad I did, because these are new areas I want to check out back there that I just zoomed in on. And here's some kind of a mine, some Gilsonite mine. And again, I just parked off of the road. And I was really fascinated with everything on the ground. Here I found this, what seemed like recently burnt out something. But what was more interesting was what I discovered as I walked away. In fact, this road that I drove in on was half mud and half this stone, but seeming to be very sectioned. At some points seeming random, and at other points seeming almost like a cobblestone or something old, but not something created by a natural geological event. And I just started following the lines, not sure really what I'm looking at, trying to place it again in these three categories. If this was Roger at Mud Fossil University, he would tell us these were the scales of some serpent, and I don't discard that. Again, what drew me out here was this Gilsonite mine. And this Gilsonite mine runs for miles and miles and miles, and we're told that they excavated this mine. But when I look here, I see melted sidewalls. I don't see this being excavated by people. Totally ridiculous. This has been melted, and this has been cleared out in a past time. And I'll show you a better look here in a minute. It basically is just some tunnel, is what it seems like, missing its top. And perhaps the top is what is now the Gilsonite. Whatever top was on this tunnel, I'm really not sure, and I'd love to show you this from Google Earth. Again, it just pops up and then disappears and pops up and disappears, and this is really old, and I don't believe the story that people came out here in the middle of nowhere. Even in present day, this is in the middle of nowhere. Very unfriendly region. And yes, they do mine the Gilsonite to this day. We do have a use, but I don't think in the early time period that this Gilsonite mine was said to have been discovered, and that these tunnels were actually made in that same time period. I just don't think so. And we see this Gilsonite just laying on the ground right here, and all throughout. It's not like it was in that shaft that I just showed you. Very glassy, very vitrified mineral. And they say that if you burn it in your stove like coal, it'll burn a hole right through your stove. And originally that's what people started doing. I mean, we really don't have uses for it until modern times. It's a very strange mineral. And I think it's just the remains of something else. Something else. And here I'm going to cross the street and give you a good look at just this one little tiny section. I mean, this is just one little tiny portion. And again, we don't see any dirt out here. They're trying to tell us that this was full of this black Gilsonite, and they took all the Gilsonite out. And what, there's nothing left? There's not a trace of Gilsonite left in this shaft? Apparently mined in an early time period? And there's miles and miles and miles of these shafts, or perhaps at one point tunnels, and now just a mess. I mean, look at that. That is the signs of melting, not the signs of people with pickaxes and wagons. And here's a spot a little closer to the mine. I pulled over and there's actually a nice bridge going over it. And this one is huge, and you can see it cutting right through the mountain up there. Unbelievable. And that, again, does this look like it could have been done with pickaxe? And chunks of this have collapsed. And again, no sign of any black. If there was truly some sort of Gilsonite vein running through here, there would be Gilsonite all throughout these shafts, and we don't see that. We see more of the Gilsonite laying on the ground. There's another spot on the other side of the road, and here is something really interesting. Just some random little thing on the side of the highway, like a bridge, like an old bridge, not being used. You can see cars, not needing this bridge. And this doesn't make any sense. This is probably the oldest thing I've seen in my area where I live. And under close examination, what I found is that these stones aren't actually stones. They appear to be stones. And when I got up to that corner there, unfortunately I don't have a great picture. I did take a still shot. They appear to be made of a concrete. Those stones are actually not stones at all. They are some sort of concrete. And here in a moment I'll show you that. Again, I did take one still shot. And here's a little idea of where we are. I mean, we are in the middle of nowhere. And to come out here and build this old world style looking bridge, which I think is either the top of something, and it's been washed away because it happened to be situated by this natural wash, and it washed the walls away of this building. Otherwise everything is covered in mud flood out here. This whole desert is just a giant mud flood. And this may be something older. Now there is a geological kind of a Army Corps of Engineer marker that I'll show you, and it's dated 1930s. And of course they would tell us that that is the case. But this is one of the coolest mysteries in my neck of the woods. And anyone in the area who drives down this highway recognizes this point, because it just stands out. There really isn't this type of old craftsmanship. And like I said, they are not even stones. It appears as if they are molds. And here, I'm going to show you this geological marker that's been stuck in here. I don't think by the original makers. But again, it has the date of 1930. And really fascinating. Again, like a child in a playground. Really, anywhere I go anymore, whether it's in cities or out in nature, everything is wondrous.